Okay, so today we're going to be going over the entirety of the car repo market because since I made my first video about car repos maybe a little bit over a month ago, a lot has changed since then. The statistics have unfortunately gotten worse. Even more people are getting repoed now, so much so that it seems like being a tow truck driver right now is a pretty lucrative business. It's difficult to find so many people to repo trucks right now, but we're going to go over the entirety of the market, how we got here, a lot of these statistics and the numbers to go with it, along with some of your comments from my previous video. So if you want to be featured in the next video, leave your comments down below along with any of the topics you want me to talk about for future videos. But we're going to start off this one with a pretty long clip, but kind of summarizes how we all got here.
Car repossessions are hitting the market at an alarming rate and buyers are going underwater. People are bankrupt. Well, back in 2020 when the pandemic hit, everybody locked down, everybody sat down, and people didn't do anything. To stimulate the economy, the government started throwing handouts and all kinds of money came into the buyers. Buyers got into new cars, trucks like this, and you see all kinds of inventory like this because a lot of dealers like Dodge, Jeep, Stellantis, and a lot of other manufacturers started to see what the writing on the wall was. The government was throwing money out and people were spending it. And once the money started hitting people's accounts, people would go out and buy these brand new trucks and cars and SUVs like this because it seemed like free money at the time and there was no end date to when this pandemic would actually end. People start to fight and overbid for a lot of these vehicles. The manufacturers quickly figured it out and started jacking prices up because people were willing to pay it. Vehicles like this that once were $30,000, $35,000 all of a sudden today are going for about $75,000, $80,000. And of course vehicle prices were on the rise, interest rates were on the rise, and it was a perfect storm for people starting to get in over their head. I mean, here we have some examples of some repossessions recently just popped in because people could not keep up with the payments. Here we have a little Nissan, probably more likely going to be a subprime buyer buying this Nissan Qashqai here. And we look over here, we have a Buick Enclave. This vehicle here clearly a little bit neglected. We've got neglect there, we've got neglect there, but this vehicle's been used and abused. A lot of people end up running their vehicles into the ground because they know they're going to be repossessed, where people should have actually been buying vehicles like this they can actually afford because they were unemployed and governments are just throwing money out. You had to know that it was coming to an end. Rather that, people were buying vehicles like this, getting way in over their head, spending a lot of money on a new 4x4, throwing accessories like these big fancy rims, of course big mud guards, tonneau covers. They don't know where the money was going to come from in the next month, and that's the problem people are in now. They're out of money, the government stopped paying, and the government actually wants a lot of that money back.
So we're finally starting to feel the effects of the car market spiking. During the 2020-2021 era when everybody thought they weren't going to be able to get a new car, the chip shortage, all of those excuses, and along with a lot of people making more money or getting stimulus checks, the car manufacturers answered by just making the cars more expensive. All the cars and trucks that they were making with the chip shortages were higher end trims. Nobody was getting base models anymore. Everything was super nice and super fancy. And because of that, all the prices just skyrocketed. And now we're more than halfway through 2024 and people are completely underwater, not being able to afford any of these cars back when they got them a couple years ago. So we have repos going through the roof right now. We have brand new cars just sitting at the lots because of the high interest rates as well. Who wants to buy a new car right now? And we even have used prices of cars finally going down. So even though most of this is pretty negative, there is kind of that silver lining where the prices are finally starting to go down. And one of the comments that I had on my previous video is very simple. Ask them how much insurance is. And he didn't even talk about it at all because over the past year or so, basically everybody's insurance has gone up for almost no reason at all. It's not like everybody started getting speeding tickets or getting into accidents and raised their premium or became like a dangerous driver to insure from any of these companies. Everybody just slowly crept up, which includes myself, which I've talked about in my previous car videos. Now, I have a completely paid off Civic and I'm still paying $200 a month just to be allowed to drive it on the road, to almost $2,500 a year. At least back then it was actually $250 a month, and people lost their minds in the comments. I think so much so that the video really did get pushed out to the algorithm and got quite a bit of views. So that video ended up paying for a lot of my insurance for the car. So I'm going to say it again. I still pay $200 a month for a 9-year-old paid off Civic. So please Put in the comments down below how absolutely insane that is, how much money it is, whatever you want, because if this video gets pushed out to the algorithm again, it'll just pay for my insurance for the next month. I know I'm joking around a little bit with the comment, but along with all of these cars going through the roof, then you have increased monthly payments and then increased insurance on the car just across the board. And we're starting to see just a surge of repos right now.
Car repossessions are up like crazy. They've increased by almost a quarter, 23%. In the first half of this year when compared to the first half of last year. The increased rate of car repossessions is due to the twin effects of inflation and high interest rates, hammering household budgets. Average interest rates for a new car are 7.3%, and for a used car, it's 11.5%. Monthly bills for a new car are $739 on average, and for a used car, it's $549 on average. Because so many people are losing their cars right now, this might be one of the reasons, New York Times, that so many people are looking down on the so-called strong economy. Remember, the average time that people are holding on to their vehicles in the United States has been increasing, skyrocketing in the past few years. Now, the average car in the U.S. is 14 years old. Now, the percentage of subprime borrowers who are at least 60 days late on their car payments is also near a record high. People are hoping that interest rates will decrease, which will provide some relief. But right now, it looks like we're a long ways away from that happening.
So with the repossessions up like crazy, you did see that people are holding on to their cars for longer, which I think is a good thing. At least with my situation, I am running my Civic into the ground. I have 105,000 miles on it now, so I bet if I traded it in, they would try to lowball me as much as humanly possible because, oh, it's over 100,000 miles, you know, this car is old, even though it'll most likely make it to over 200,000, probably 250,000 on the car. It seems like a lot of other people are also doing that as well. They are keeping their cars that they have if they are paid off or at least can afford the payments and the insurance, and they're not buying new cars anymore. And I mean, you can't really blame them. The interest rate for a new car was 7.3 and a used car was almost 12%. And with that insane interest rate, the monthly bills for a new car was almost $750 and a used car was still $550. So it's not even that much cheaper to buy a used car right now. So, and with all those numbers and statistics for the repos and car payments, I thought that the top comment on my last video was also just a very simple comment. With almost 450 likes, my car payment is 0. Very simple, nothing elaborate about the comment, but a lot of people agreed. With how crazy everything has gotten, it just seems worth it to not be a part of it at all. If you already had a car before all of this started getting crazy, I would just keep it, at least for the next few years, and start to see these car prices finally start to fall. Because if you've bought a car in the past year, most likely you're going to be a part of some of these statistics with the amount of debt people are accruing.
The average consumer is borrowing $40,000 to buy a new vehicle. And it's going to be way more than that on trucks just like this because most of them are $70,000, $80,000, and $90,000. And right now, 1 out of 4 people are trading in a car with negative equity on it. That's 25%. On average, EV owners have more negative equity than ICE drivers do.
EVs specifically fell 29.5%.
In the last 10 years, auto loan debt is up 85%. Just in the last 4 months, $165 billion has been added to the total of American car debt. More than 16% of new car buyers have an average monthly payment of over $1,000. Americans now have $1.6 trillion worth of auto loan debt. The average new car term is 67 months. So right now we're seeing the average down payment for a used vehicle is $4,100. And Americans right now are already living paycheck to paycheck. So before the loan even starts, this consumer is already strapped. The average amount of negative equity that a consumer has right now is over $6,000. And used car prices are down 9.3% year over year, which is rapidly increasing the amount of negative equity that's in our system right now.
So I mean, he was rattling off a lot of stats very quickly, and it almost got to the point where you can't even understand the debt anymore when you're getting into the billions and the trillions of debt. debt Americans are in because of cars. But I would say probably one of the craziest statistics though in this clip is that 1 in 4 people trade in their car with negative equity to get something new, get something flashier or better than what they already had when they were already underwater in their first car. And I know that's how you get some of these people paying insane car payments for a car that's like average. It's not like, oh, they went out and got a G-Wagon and of course it's going to be a couple $1,000s a month because of how expensive the MSRP is, but it becomes almost play money, stuff that we normally couldn't fathom because like who has billions and actually trillions of dollars? So I mean, your best bet is to probably steer clear of this as much as humanly possible. If you have a car, keep it for as long as you possibly can, because we have another comment from one of my previous videos saying that I have a suspicion that those car dealers are flat out lying about their car payments to normalize high car payments, because as I've showed in several different videos, all of these TikTok trends of, hey, you know, what do you drive and what's your car payment? It's always ridiculously high for whatever they're driving or just like their normal job. It's not like each one of these people they're asking what they drive and their car payments are like millionaires. So of course they're going to be driving like Lamborghinis or whatever and it's going to be a lot of money. They look like just normal 9-to-5 people. But because of all these issues and the repos and the high interest rate and the high car payments and prices of all of these cars, it seems like a lot of these dealerships are trying to make it seem like it's okay to pay $500, $700, $900 a month for a new car or a new truck. Because honestly, dealers are hurting right now. As I was saying earlier in this video, of people having difficulty hiring enough tow truck drivers to be able to get all of these repos. If you did watch my videos about the job market and inflation and how difficult it is to survive right now, I would maybe look into doing some repo work for people if you could probably stand it. It doesn't seem like it's the easiest job, but seems like it's a pretty booming market, at least for maybe the next year or two, because you have some of these people just getting caught absolutely anywhere, and it's honestly really impressive. It's very interesting to watch repo videos that are like either YouTube videos or TikToks for me, because you could see how quickly they'll be able to find the car that they need to repo. They'll just grab it and within like 30 seconds it's completely gone. Their driving is really impressive. I mean, the guy who's in the parking garage had absolutely no issues with the car and was able to take it out in like no time. And then I finally found the account of the guy that I used in my first repo video that was probably one of the best repo drivers. He just makes constant videos about it because honestly, he's probably working now more than ever. And just like that, it is gone. That wasn't a repo, that was a heist. His face tells me that the repo was personal. He's the fastest repo guy I know. And if you did want to check him out on TikTok, he is actually called the Tow Goat. And I mean, he gets a ton of views because it's like that in and out really quickly. He's very smooth at driving the truck at the same time. And it goes from him driving around to like 15 seconds later, your car's repoed and it's gone. It's insane. But along with that, we start getting into the very negatives about all the repos. Of course, it's almost a given now for basically any topic that I've talked about that you get people online taking the issue as a joke and just a means for attention, like this woman.
We did, started to cry, then remembered I just won my first Grammy.
So I mean, of course, you're going to have these people that will take their financial illiteracy as a way to get some attention online, and you have the backlash on top of it. So I mean, it's the same people who will take light of doom spending and then try to glorify it and not take it as seriously of an issue as they probably should. But I mean, what are you going to do? That's the internet. That's people for you. And then along with that, you have a lot of those issues with people repoing the car and the original owners, I guess previous owners now, because they don't own the car anymore when they get repoed, but they end up snapping and doing crazy stuff like this.
This is Colorado, where dumbasses like this can get inside of a vehicle while it's on the back of a tow truck. Isn't that great?
And that's not even that bad. You could look at tons and tons of videos of people trying to get off of the tow truck and sometimes it working and them ripping off like the front or back bumper or like destroying the repo truck, and you're just adding on to all of the laws you're breaking. So when the cops are called on you, because a lot of these are being recorded by somebody on an iPhone, so there's actual proof of you doing this, you're just getting yourself into even more trouble than already losing your car because you couldn't afford the car payments. And I mean, it gets to an extreme point like we have on this news station.
12:20 p.m. this afternoon, PSLPD officers responded to multiple calls of shooting. Upon arrival, officers found a adult male that was a repossession agent, had been shot multiple times. He was airlifted to Longwood Regional Medical Center, where he's currently in stable condition and is expected to survive.
So, I mean, there's a possibility of you dealing with some extreme people who have basically nothing other than their car that they haven't really paid for a while, so that's why it's getting repoed, but it ends up becoming very dangerous. So my advice is to completely steer clear of this. Obviously, very simple advice, don't get repoed. If you have a car right now that is not absolutely on its last legs of life, I would hold on to it for at least a couple years. Just tune into the news every couple months and see how the price of used cars are going down, or hopefully the interest rates will start getting cut. But I mean, the closest one that we have is September, and it's not like they're going to cut interest rates down that much. So we definitely have at least a couple years of that, but hopefully some of the new prices and used prices of cars will keep going down. So I would definitely wait it out. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.